Okay, welcome back to Anime Death Spiral, the only anime podcast directly funded by your tax dollars.
That's right.
Yep, we're getting those government bucks.
Hell yeah, dude.
I'm Nate. As always, I'm here with Remy. We're here to talk at you about anime.
We're going to berate you with anime opinions.
Strap in.
Yet again, for the 31st time, I intend to browbeat you about anime.
What we do is less of a podcast and more of a form of emotional abuse to you who likes anime with anime. Anime is the instrument that we're going to hurt you with.
Yeah, you know, it's funny because a lot of people call their lists or whatever, they call them recommendations or they call them suggestions.
These are ultimatums.
Yeah, very much so. Like commandments. If you don't follow these orders, there will be punishments.
Anime Judgment Day is nigh upon us.
Yes.
Choose where you want to stand in the Lord's eyes.
Yeah. And there will be anime commandments in this episode because guess what?
What?
I watched some anime.
No, you lie. Charlatan.
No,
Heretic.
I really did. I swear to God. There was like a whole slew of new anime, and can you believe it? Some of them looked good.
I barely believe it.
I know. We did talk last episode, obviously, of some things we had our eyes on. Nate got the jump on me and watched a couple of pilots. I'm caught up now, a little bit caught up. I watched a couple other pilots. We've split the duties, so I've got some of the other shows that Nate obviously wasn't that interested in. But we did watch one in common, right?
We did. What was it called? Bullbuster?
Ballsbuster, yes.
Bustin' balls.
I have to admit, the show is called Bullbuster, but when I was sitting on the couch with my...
Oh, wait, hold on, what? It's called Bullbuster.
Yes. It's called Bullbuster. I don't know if that was intentional or not, but we were sitting on the couch chanting every time the mech was doing something, chanting, Bullbuster, Bullbuster, Bullbuster. Very entertaining. You know, sometimes when you're watching anime, you got to make your own fun.
I mean, if you're not entertained, what is the point?
Exactly.
So, can I explain to our dear listeners what Bullbuster is?
I'd love to hear what you think it is. That would be great.
So, the basic premise of Bullbuster is mechs are real. And they're used to fight giant mole rats.
Yeah.
Giant mutant mole rats.
Naked mole rats.
Yeah, naked mole rats.
Pink as the day they were born.
And the size of a house. And in this setting, this mole rat hell that they presented us with, our main characters are what is essentially like an extermination company.
Pest control.
Yeah, they are pest control people that fight these giant, mutant, monstrous, and naked mole rats with industrial equipment that they've repurposed into kind of a mecha suit weaponry. And the basic premise is, hey, what if being like a mech pilot that fights monsters is just a fucking boring-ass job?
Yeah, what if it was just kind of like blue-collar warehouse work? I kept saying it was essentially a show about forklift certification.
I drove a forklift for a long time. Totally uncertified, I will say.
Yeah. Well, do you remember near the end of Aliens, there's a very conspicuous forklift mech?
Well, yeah, I feel like that is pretty much guaranteed to be the direct inspiration for this whole show's idea.
Yeah.
Right? Is the stay away from her, you bitch scene.
Yes, exactly. That is the touchstone for sure, because the mechs are, you know, they're not mechs. They're little tiny personalized mechs. They're like 10, 12 feet tall. They don't really have like a bunch of weapons on them.
The hook for the series is that our main character is a upstart engineer, right, who just got a job working for this company, and he's all jazzed to show off his new robot design.
Yep.
that he designed himself, and so it's got all the fancy bells and whistles for killing mole rats.
It's got a heads-up display.
Yep.
It's got one of those cow punchers on it.
AR integrated screen processing.
Yeah. It's bipedal for some reason, which
they call out as being stupid in the show.
Yeah, I started making fun of it for that, and then the guy started making fun of it on the show, which I felt very validating.
Well, okay, so we start off with him, and then he gets kind of paired up right off the bat against the older pilot who works for the company, who drives the much older version of his mech, where it's still kind of on like tractor treads on the bottom.
Yeah.
But it has, arms and a big gun on top. They share a lot of crossover design wise. Again, the big difference is that this guy's new mech has legs, which I cannot stress enough is stupid. It's always going to be stupid.
Yeah.
Mechs with legs are never going to happen, people.
It's ridiculous.
You should stop playing Metal Gear Solid.
It really, if you want to really get into it, it speaks to the desperate need for humans to anthropomorphize everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I've made my position clear here. As much as I love Gundam,
listen,
and
if
mechs
the
in
robots
general,
aren't bipedal, how are they going to be fuckable?
Yeah, well, exactly. I've made my position clear. I love Gundam. Obviously, Ava mechs are absolutely legendary. They're extremely iconic. But I've always erred on the side of Mech Warrior myself. I like the kind of grungy, more workman-like mechs. The very slow mechs, you know what I mean? Very much a tank mech.
Yeah, something that evokes the imagery of like in Bullbuster industrial equipment, or
yes,
or kind of classic military vehicles, kind of like that boxy aesthetic.
Yeah. Like in the third Matrix.
Yeah.
When the horrible squids break in, and those guys are just basically wearing armor suits with big guns on them.
Man, that was so funny.
It's fucking cool as hell, man. Sorry, I'm a big defender. I love all Matrix movies except for that last one.
I still haven't brought myself to watch it, but I do like the original trilogy quite a bit just on its own.
Yeah, and of course, since this is an anime podcast, we got to shout out that the Animatrix is legitimately one of the best anthology anime series that has ever been made.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, my God.
The only one I can think of, there was another kind of famous anime trilogy that I'm blanking on. Not trilogy, but an
anthology.
An anthology that had kind of three separate chunks to it. All I can remember is that the first one was about a bunch of astronauts on kind of like a dying space station.
Yes.
I'm trying to remember the name of
that one's called Memories.
Memories. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
And then, of course, there's Neo Tokyo, not to be confused with Akira. The Neo Tokyo came, I think, before Akira. That's a series of 3 movies, 3 short films. And then there's, of course, the Genius Party anthologies, which are also great. A lot of really great anime anthologies. You give an animator like 10 minutes and a bunch of money, you're probably going to get something pretty good out of it.
I mean, that is just like the economy of animation, though, right? The shorter it is, the more of your budget you can focus into making that smaller bit better.
Yeah, it's like the meme that's going around in indie games, right? I want shorter games with less graphics and charging more money, right?
Well, I was thinking more like that's why horror as a film genre lends itself to anthology so well, because you can tell a legitimately well put together scary story in 15 minutes.
Sure.
With a relatively low budget and make it look really fun, as opposed to trying to draw out a much thinner premise to 90 minutes. I have to think like how I don't want to say boring, but less enjoyable any of the segments from Creepshow would have been if you stretched them individually out into their own movie.
Yeah, sure. We saw that with the Twilight Zone. Twilight Zone, great short stories. When you try to make those things into like full features, it doesn't always translate very well.
Anyway, Bullbuster. We get to Twilight Zone. I think it has legs. I like the scene where the dude is all jazzed to go show off his new mech that he just debuted, and he gets stopped in his tracks because he has to fill out fucking insurance paperwork for the company.
I love that part. Yeah, I love that touch. I think that was really good.
I really hope that they have a scene later on down the line where maybe it looks like they're gonna have to go under or whatever, and it shows that dude, like their accountant dude who's the stickler for paperwork and all up everybody's ass about doing things proper, like he just fucking comes in and saves the company at the most crucial moment with his most like benign bureaucratic shit.
Oh sure, I'm imagining like a complete shonen battle scene, except it's him doing the refinancing.
That would be great.
Yeah, like reworking the mortgage. That would be really fun. I have to say, there was a moment that I found very strange.
What was that?
He gets our little engineer friend has never done the job, right? He's been stuck in his lab cooking up new mech designs, and he finally gets the opportunity to like actually test drive the thing, right? And they deploy him, but he comes face to face with a naked mole rat and acts like he's never seen one before, and he has no idea what the job actually entails, Well, classic STEM blunder. He spends all of his time theorizing. He has no field experience. He's not out there talking to the actual people. Yeah, exactly. I mean, that part I like. That makes sense to me. But the idea that he designed this mech without understanding what it would actually be doing is very strange to me. That is my one nitpick.
Okay, I'm glad you brought that up, because the thing that kept running in my mind when he was like starting his mission, and he was all jazzed to, show off how cool his fucking mech is.
Yeah.
I thought that they were absolutely going to go for the angle where all of the cool shit that he was like excited to show off just totally fails in application. Right?
It kind of does. I mean, the thing doesn't work like he expects it to at first.
But I feel like more than anything, that was a skill issue on his part.
Skill issue. Skill gap.
Yeah, skill issue.
That's for real, a skill gap right there.
I feel like in the end, his mech does work. He was just nervous and didn't quite understand, like you said, what he was up against. But
yeah,
I thought that they were literally going to go for a much more direct, like he was super jazzed on that it doesn't have an open cockpit, right? It has camera-fed screens on the interior.
Yeah.
Like a Gundam, basically.
Yes, exactly.
With a, AR integrated targeting system and all that.
Yeah.
And I thought that, like, first thing off the bat, what was going to happen was the mole rat was going to knock out the camera up front. Because it's totally unprotected in his design.
Yeah.
It's just there in front. And he was going to be blind, for the rest of the fight or whatever.
Right.
But no, he just kind of fell over, and then she shot it with a gun, and he won. He won the fight.
Yeah.
He won the fight by shooting it with a big gun.
I think it was the cowpuncher.
It was the cowpuncher, you're right.
Yeah. Now I have to say, my final thought on Bullbuster when I left, credits roll and I left, it seems cruel to kill these wild animals that aren't actually like hurting anybody. Because they ship out these
because
mechs.
I feel like they set up that they are hurting people. They're wandering into human settlements and like eating people.
Well, they establish when they ship out, and he's explaining the job. They establish that nobody lives on the island. Everybody's abandoned their houses, so nobody's actually there. Mm-hmm. It's just these wild animals, kind of like rewilding the abandoned village on this island. They don't seem to actually pose that much of a threat. So we are watching these people kind of ship over to this island. They have to take a little tugboat and then
hold on.
Slaughter these wild animals, you know?
Is the implication not, though, that the island is abandoned because these giant mole rats are there?
Yes,
like,
I know.
The people were there, and then they got chased off. It's not like the people were building around the mole rats.
Sure. I'm just saying I have sympathy for the mole rats, maybe more so than the show intended. It's a bit of a wild boar situation, I understand, you know. But, I have sympathy myself for the wild boar. I don't know. What can I say? It felt a little cruel. I don't know.
Well, you heard it here, folks. Remy's a boar lover and a human hater.
If you aren't a boar lover and a human hater by now, I just don't know what to tell you. Get your priorities straight. That's Bullbuster.
That's it.
That's Bullbuster there. That's it. Bullbuster, next show.
Hey, quit busting my balls.
It's a final thing. Last season we got Sin Duality Noir, which I think I'd said at the time was just kind of a fake Gurren Lagann, a very much a diet Gurren Lagann.
That you said that was this season's Tiny Robot anime.
Yeah, this season's Bullbuster Tiny Robot anime. Thumbs up. Much better attempt.
I like it. Go for it, guys. Kick those mole rats.
Yeah.
All right, why don't you tell me about Migi and Dali, because this is an interesting one. You said you watched one episode of this, and then you went and read the entire manga.
I did. I watched one episode and was like, I am so fucking down. Let's do this shit. Now, of course, we've talked so many times now that we're both big horror guys.
At least 31 times.
At least 31 times. I hope we have mentioned it on every episode just to drive you insane, my dear best friends and listeners. So I will be talking about it even further now, because as horror lovers, a weirdo orphan is just like, candy. That's like, I love it.
Now, what if that weirdo orphan was a twin?
You have double weirdo orphans. Now, it's obviously Migi and Dali kind of gives it away, right?
I thought this was literally an anime about Salvador Dali. So this is all a surprise to me.
No. I'll link you to that one later. Now, this is interesting because it is the marking of my expansion of my Japanese language. I now know 3 Japanese words, because Migi is right and Dali is left. And now you know too. We're all learning.
Think that's right, but I don't know enough about Japanese to dispute you.
Well, here's the thing. In Parasite with a Y, his parasite is named Migi because it takes over his right hand.
Well, I understand that. That's not what's confusing me. It's the Dali part, because I don't think Japanese has any L sounds in it naturally. Only in borrowed words.
Well, Dari. And in fact, the characters themselves, Migi and Dali, call themselves Hitori for most of the comic anyway.
Okay, so
they're pretending to be the same person.
Okay, there we go.
So let me back up. Okay.
I feel like maybe we skipped a beat here. Let's back up.
I was so excited to know 2 more words in Japanese. I was really excited, clapping to myself.
Like a seal.
Migi and Dali are 2 orphans. They're very strange. They were put up to an orphanage after they found their mother inexplicably dead in the street. Very awful. Very awful.
You hate to see it, folks.
Yeah. And it clearly affected them quite a lot, because they are very strange. They're extraordinarily close twins, and they're sort of like baby angel-faced twins, and they look identical. These are some mirror image-ass twins.
All right. And we got some creepy-ass twins. I'm on board so far.
Yeah. So one day, they're chilling at the orphanage, and they get word that kind of a nice, well-to-do older couple are looking for a child, and they're coming to the orphanage and they're going to pick one out.
Okay, historically, when an older couple comes looking to an orphanage just to pick up a child, I don't think good things generally happen. You know, it brings to images of vampires and ghouls.
Well, that is what I liked about it, is even when it's not being overt about like its creepy elements, there's always like a tinge of, I want to say, like Twin Peaksy weirdness. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Something is always just off about everything, which I really like.
A Lynchian streak, I would call it.
Yeah, and the twins determine to get themselves adopted because, frankly, why wouldn't you?
Yeah, being an orphan sounds like it sucks.
Yeah, I don't have any experience myself, but it does seem bad. They decide on a plan. They know the older couple are only going to adopt one child, and they decide that one child is going to be the two of them. What a great setup.
Okay.
Like, just right off the bat.
So we got like a the boy to Brahms situation, kid in the walls?
Yes, absolutely. Exactly.
Oh shit, we got a kid in the walls.
Yes. They come up with a new kid called Hitori, and they decide that between them they are going to be Hitori.
So okay, so we have two kids, two twins, and they're both pretending to be a kid that's not either of them.
Exactly. And this sets off a very strange and interesting series of events. They have to constantly switch in and out. In the first episode, they establish how the twins eat at dinner is that one of them sits at the table and the other one skitters along the ground underneath the first one's chair and stays under the table, and like the first one lowers food to the second one. It's very strange and cool. I really, really like it.
I mean, that does sound incredibly creepy.
Yeah.
And nobody notices.
Well, they're very good at it. They're very dedicated to keeping up the act. They get anxious when it finally comes time for them to start going to school. They're like, how are we going to make this work, you know?
I mean, I think everybody says that when they have to start going to school.
I know, right? And you'd think, actually, it's kind of a leg up because, 2-in-1, right?
Yeah, you can share the grades.
Exactly. Switch out for tests and whatnot. So yeah, it's bizarre. And it has that Twin Peaksy weirdness to like everything that happens. And it does build up. Like I said, I just immediately read all of it because I was so intrigued. It builds on itself in very cool and weird ways. It has a great sense of humor. It has a great sense of like creepy, strange mystery weirdness to it. The two characters are both very alien to us, but also very sympathetic, which is an incredibly hard tightrope to walk,
Now let me ask you, are they malicious in any way? Are they evil twins?
We don't know. That's the thing, is like for a long time in the story, they are held at an arm's length from the reader, right? And they constantly, for the first, third of it, they're constantly mentioning this objective they have, this plan they are trying to execute, right? But they won't let us in on it yet. So we're like, what is happening? Is it some kind of evil thing? Are they going to hurt the old couple?
Now,
we don't know. We have no idea.
Now, Remy, are they going to hurt these people? Is that the implication?
You would hope not, because the old couple are weird, but they are actually very loving and kind to the twins.
Well, that was their first mistake.
I know, right? You never want to show weakness to a child.
Especially not one you adopted.
Yeah. The other thing I really like is that since they're playing the same character, right, they have to always wear the same clothes. And they've decided they're going to wear nothing but jeans and black turtlenecks.
Oh, the Steve Jobs look.
Well, you say that because the mother complains that you can't be Steve Jobs every day. She literally says that.
I like the idea of a little kid playing at being Steve Jobs every day.
Yeah, it's very funny. I really like Migi and Dali. I think this is absolutely one of the standouts of this season because it's so unlike everything else.
Well, I mean, it has the benefit of just being weird, which is an automatic, standout above anything it's put up against.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Especially in the realm of anime, where things can tend to get a little bit formulaic, I'll say, being on the kinder side.
Yeah, isn't that a weird thing about anime, in that you can watch a show that is objectively very strange, but also ends up being like super boring and formulaic.
I mean, it goes into what we've said a lot of times in shows not living up to their premise, right?
Yeah.
You come up with a cool premise to get publishers interested, and then once you get them hooked, then they want you to just, do what sells.
Yeah, I know I've complained about this so many times, but it always comes back to that one series I started reading about the human society in the future where everyone has become immortal, except a mortality disease has broken out. And there are immortality cops that go around executing the mortals so that they can't spread it, right?
I mean, that is a cool idea.
That's such a cool idea, but like three issues in, it just becomes a police procedural, which just sucks.
Boo.
Yeah, boo.
Boo. Boo to you, anime.
So yeah, I hate when that kind of shit happens, but it does not happen with Migi and Dali. Migi and Dali builds on itself in a great way.
I mean, so does it have, like, a good build-up, or does it leave you asking questions? Because you said it's over.
Yes. No, the ending is very satisfying if that's something you're scared of. If you're worried about it not going anywhere. It definitely goes into some weird-ass places.
Okay, all right. Well, I mean, Kid in the Walls. How can it not?
Yeah, exactly, right?
Yeah. All right, what else we got?
Well, we got a couple more. Sousou no Frieren.
This is another one.
Better.
Yeah, this is another one you told me about that has a cool premise.
Yeah.
No, go on.
Well, we talked about it a little bit last time, and I mentioned that this was something that had been sitting on my reading list for a while, but I hadn't picked it up because it seemed a little, how should I say, dour.
A bit maudlin, I think we said.
Maudlin, yes. A somber tone to it. And I wasn't wrong.
A bit dour.
It definitely does. I like dour, too. It's a good word. But I watched it and immediately watched the second episode, which is always a good sign. Even though it does have a weird thing where the first episode you can just watch and it's like a fun short story. You definitely do not have to watch any more after the first episode if you don't want to.
Interesting.
It's just a nice, contained little short story.
I mean, I like that. I like that a lot when a show has, like, a good thesis statement you can point to.
Right.
That kind of sums it up without having to make someone get invested.
Yeah, but I think I described it last episode as, like, the sequel to Record of Lodoss War.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
Which is, one of those shows that I kind of grew up on back in the day. I liked Record of Lodoss War, so I liked the premise that you set up for me when you explain what Sousou no Frieren is. Which is basically the story of what happens after the story of Record Lodoss War when the elf outlives all of her other friends.
Yes. And the thing that really caught me off guard was the way that Elf Girl Beyond Journey's End plays with time.
Wait, is that the translated title?
Well, that's what I call it.
Okay.
Beyond Journey's End, yes. I don't know what the rest of it is. You look it up for yourself. Sousou no Frieren.
Do your own research, people.
In Japanese. But, so the thing that really caught me off guard was I thought this was going to kind of be like start after, like, our heroes are all dead and she's kind of alone and she's reminiscing sort of Titanic-esque about her journeys or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not that at all. The first episode begins with them returning home after defeating the Demon Lord, and they have a big party, and they're like, wow, this is so great. I wonder what we're going to do with the rest of our lives, And the elf chick is like...
The fuck are you talking about?
Yeah, like, this has been, basically a blink of the eye for me. And they do a great sequence where the night of the party, once they get home, there's, like, a cool meteor shower. And the elf chick is such a downer because she's like... Yeah, actually, I know a way better spot we could watch the meteor shower. This is kind of a shitty spot for it. I'll take you to the cool spot for the next one. And the other characters are like, the next one? That's in 50 years. And she's like, yeah, what's the problem? And literally hard cut 50 years later. She rolls back into town. And we meet our Parn stand-in, the hero, and he's like a bent-over old man. He's got a big gray beard, right? And she's like, damn, you look like shit, dude. It's really funny. And they go and he just barely made it. They watched the meteor shower together, and then a couple years later, he's in the ground.
Because he's what? He's like in his 70s at that point.
Yeah, he's pretty old. And they have another companion that's this cleric, right? A couple years after that, she meets up with him, the cleric, and he's bitten pretty close to death. And he kind of tricks her into teaching his adopted daughter magic so that when he's gone, she has a way to make a living.
Sure.
And so begins our narrative of this elf girl kind of learning how to appreciate the time she spends with humans who are, these fragile creatures through raising this young girl. And it's really touching, and it's melancholy, like I suspected. But it's also very touching, and there's moments of humor in it, and the relationship she has that develops with the adoptive daughter, I think, is really good. And it's beautifully animated. I'm sad now that I put it off reading it for so long, because this is a good one. This is great. I really liked it.
So, thumbs up.
Absolutely. Sad Immortal Elf Girl, you get a pass from me. Good job.
All right. Resounding endorsement.
Yeah. Now, I have one more that you didn't watch.
Okay, tell me about it.
This is a weird one. This one's called Kamierabi God.app.
God.app.
God.app. There's apps for everything these days. This is strange because this is a collaboration with Yoko Taro.
That pervert?
Yeah, the Nier and the Drakengard guy. That weird guy. This is obviously not his first anime, because the Nier anime was last season.
Mm-hmm.
Or season before that? Oh, my brain is absolutely Swiss cheese. But this is, to my knowledge, the first original anime he's developed. And it is very strange. The first, right off the bat, it is fully 3D.
Okay, well, I'm off put by that right away.
Yeah, I was not into that. But it does have, like, I don't know. There's a flavor to it that's not the worst thing I've ever seen. The second weird thing is that it's about all these teenagers, and which is not weird, but their uniform. Every teenager in this entire world wears basically the same clothing. Check this fit out. Here's a fit check.
Give it to me.
Black trousers, black suspenders.
What?
Short black tie, white pinstripe dress shirt with no sleeves.
Okay, I gotta look up a picture of this.
It's so weird. I don't know how I feel about it, because it is so strange. I think it's, at one hand, kind of cool. On the other hand, like, what? What? Okay. Why would it?
I just want to point out that I Googled God.app, and Chrome thought that it was trying to go to an application web page, and so it gave me a unsafe connection warning.
Oh no!
No, the anime. I want anime, Google.
Obviously, I want anime, Google. Jesus. No, not Jesus.
Not Jesus.
Not Jesus.
Okay. Okay, I'm looking at it here. You know what? He looks like the kid from Soul Eater.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, there's a little bit of that in it.
Yeah, it's the red eyes with the sharp teeth look.
Yes, that's one of the kids. Yeah, these kids get involved in a death game. Ring the bell.
We'll put that in post.
So we've got a death game on our hands. And I think, as I described it last time, this is essentially Yoko Taro's take on Mirai Nikki, Future Diary. Which, despite my better self, I really liked. I really liked it. I really like Mirai Nikki. This one, we yet to see if it goes anywhere. But obviously, I'm a sucker for death games. I don't know how many more times I can say it. So I'm willing to give it a few more episodes before I really make any kind of declaration on it. It seems to be a little light on, like, anything. in the first episode. We meet like a few of these characters. We establish that, like so many anime and manga before it, there's a weird phone app that causes strange reality bending, let's say shenanigans.
Gotta love that.
Yeah. These smartphones, man.
Well, I mean, the one I'm familiar with, I think you watched a while ago, not East of Eden, that's the Steinbeck book. Oh, whoa. Do you know what I'm talking about? That death game about the people that have all the money on their phone?
You're talking about Eden of the East.
Eden of the East, yes.
Yes. Pretty close.
I almost got there.
Yeah, I mean, you're just scratching the surface. Obviously, like, Darwin's Game has been running for a little while now, and that's the same idea.
Mm-hmm.
I talked about that truly bizarre slave game, death game manga that I read, where there's a Pokemon Go app, except it's catching random people and turning them into slaves. Pretty weird. But that's a weird one.
I mean, that's legitimately what old people thought was going to happen when Pokemon Go came out. They thought that it was, in fact, a 5G conspiracy to cook all of our brains and turn us into woke zombies.
They really thought we were just going to be, like, walking into traffic and off cliffs and shit, you know?
Hey,
like, that
phone,
was the big panic.
phone bad. Duh.
Kids be on their phones. I don't know how much more I can say. Kamierabi God.app, I really don't know what to make of it because I'm, like, very torn on the 3D stuff.
I feel bad because we're in a world that is post-Spider-Verse, post-Arcane. There are legitimate good...
Wait, hold on. Do not put those on the same level.
I'm not putting them on the same level, but they are, obviously Arcane is better than a lot of the 3D, asset dumps that we're seeing in anime these days.
Sure.
Obviously nothing comes close to what Spider-Verse did. It literally changed the way the medium is made and presented at this point.
Also, it's just on a side note, I did watch that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie, and it definitely did learn all the right lessons from Spider-Verse.
Good. That's what I want.
Looker. Yeah, it's a good looking movie.
Too bad about that Seth Rogen, but that's a different issue.
No, I'm rolling my eyes right now.
But I feel bad saying that there's just too much bad 3D anime for me to not feel apprehensive about it at this point.
Yeah.
Even though there are good examples out there.
Yeah, no, it's a totally legit concern. And even in Bullbuster, it starts off with a little bit of that 3D mech shit that made me raise my eyebrows a little bit.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it doesn't look good in... I want to be clear, that it did not look good in Bullbuster either.
Yes, it was mercifully short, but I did not like that either.
The giant 3D mole rats were particularly bad.
Yeah, they seem to be using it a lot for big monsters. They tend to be CGI these days.
I don't like that.
Yeah.
I don't like that at all.
The CGI they use in Kamierabi God.app is definitely its own distinct flavor. And honestly, if you're doing full CGI, I can forgive it a little bit. The mishmash, I think, is what's so jarring about a lot of anime.
I feel like we're getting closer to making it look pretty good, especially with what, MAP has been doing since Dorohedoro. They've been refining their use of CGI, I think, and people still complain about it, I don't think Chainsaw Man looked bad by any degree of the word, or any definition of the word.
Yeah.
I
don't think Dorohedoro looks bad either. But
I know, I was about to say, I think that is their roughest work when it comes to 3D stuff that I'm familiar with, that they've done, and even it still looks pretty okay. That one is hard just because Q Hayashida's art in Doro goes so fucking hard every page.
It does. Absolutely, it does, yeah.
But they did their best, and they made it look pretty decent, I'll say.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know, we'll see. But at this point, fucking Bullbuster isn't it, and I don't know if Kamierabi God.app is either.
Yeah, we'll check back in maybe in a few episodes to see what the hell that thing actually is, because the first episode doesn't really elaborate very much. I'm fascinated by the Yoko Taro connection. We'll see where that goes. And then, of course, last but not least, we have the showstopper. Spy Family is back, baby. Spy Family is back. Yeah.
You mean Spy X Family?
Spy X Family. Spy by
Family.
Spy by Family. That's hard to say. Spy Family's back, son.
It is literally a ray of sunshine to come back to, because goddamn, watching that family makes me feel something akin to joy again, and I need to hold on to that little spark just a little bit longer.
A little tiny spark to light up the darkness in my heart.
So last I heard, because I haven't caught up in the Spy Family manga, even though there's only like 80-something chapters out. It's not that long. Yeah.
And we are kind of spinning the wheels in the current part of the story. Not that I don't like it, but it's like not a lot's happening.
Yeah. So where is the upcoming movie supposed to fit in? Do you know if that's going to be based on something from the manga, or is that going to be out-and-out anime filler?
I'm really not sure. I mean, part of it is that I've been avoiding it because I know, like, straight up, I'm going to watch it. Mm-hmm. Like, obviously, I'm getting in there because I love Spy Family. And for a lot of movies, like, that ahead of time, I know I'm going to watch. I do make an effort to, like, avoid any more information. Not because I'm, like, precious about spoilers or anything, but it's like, well, I'm going to get there. Like, I don't need to waste my time on a trailer or a breakdown or whatever. I'm going to get there.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Is there any notable Christmas arc that happens in the manga that I haven't got to yet? Because I feel like with the timing on where we're starting season 2, it might, take a break around, mid-December. And then that would be a real good time to bring out a Christmas movie.
My speculation very early on, even when they just, like, floated the idea of a movie, was the cruise arc. There is one sequence fairly early on in Spy Family, like, actually, not that far off where the anime is, where the family takes a cruise. Unbeknownst to Lloyd and Anya, Yor is working a bodyguard job on the same cruise that they're on, and so lots of hijinks ensue about them just missing each other, that kind of thing.
Sure.
Don't need to spell it out. The gag is obvious, but this is a fairly, like, meaty chunk of the story, and it is all chronologically compact. Because a lot of chapter by chapter, I mean, we kind of float through time. But this is like moment to moment, course of maybe 1.5 days. This all takes place, and it is extremely action packed. So if you were gonna just dump a bunch of money into part of Spy Family, it would be the part where every single chapter is filled with, like, intense fights, right?
Anime is an animated medium. I love it when they just go ham wild.
We're always saying that.
I mean, we're always saying that, folks, every episode. But seriously, I do wish that every anime had the budget to actually make the animation fun to look at. I feel like one of the biggest criticisms of anime, just on the production side, as a genre, as a, like, media content that gets made, is that so much of it is churned out so fast. Something goes from fucking blog post to light novel to anime adaptation within the course of a year.
Yeah.
And you have to dump all this stuff into quick adaptation rewrites, stock textures, asset dump 3D stuff like we were talking about.
Yep.
Anime, for the most part, is not good animation. Like, I feel like we can say that confidently at this point.
We are in an era where we have more shovelware than ever.
Yes, and especially in an era where the stuff that does get fucking decent animation production value out the bat is stuff like Zom 100.
Yeah, which is crazy. Again, I cannot overstate how pissed off I am about that.
Live action Netflix show announced before the first episode even came out.
Yeah, well, movie.
Netflix movie, excuse me.
Full ass movie. Yeah, you think about the business of it right now, and it is very strange because it's like, if a show isn't very popular, they starve it for budget.
Yeah.
If a show is extremely popular, they squeeze it for all it's worth, which means taking money out of the budget, putting it in the pocket of somebody who is not actually drawing anything.
Hey, something tells me that these producers just like taking money.
Yeah, it's an unfortunate time, let's say. So Spy Family has managed to get some really great breaks there. Like last season, we had the tennis sequence.
Oh, yeah.
Which was fantastic. I think the best animation they've done in the show so far.
Beautiful to look at.
Yeah, it's like really, really cool. And it's a great scene. It's great animation. It adapts the comic in a way that makes doing animation itself like actually worthwhile, which doesn't always happen, you know. A lot of times you watch like an adaptation and it's two heads talking at each other and you're like, this is literally what.
Well, that is like the classic anime trope, right? It's just two people in a reverse shot sequence talking to each other.
Yes, and there are interesting ways to do that. I would say, you know, I hesitate to bring it up, but like Bakemonogatari does incredible sequences that are just two people talking. Really, really imaginative and cool animation of just two heads talking at each other.
Sometimes they're brushing their teeth.
Sometimes they're doing other things, but most of the time that is not the case. And Spy Family has dipped in and out of that. You know, not every single episode has a tennis sequence.
No, but I feel like Spy Family uniquely benefits from having fairly simple designs overall, right?
Yes, that's the silhouette thing, right? And it's funny because in anime, it's like, don't draw a weird design on somebody's t-shirt because you're going to have to do it a million times, right?
Exactly, yeah.
And it like and it's in video games, it's you when a character lies in bed, you can't put a sheet on them, right? Like that, you know, because that would cost $100 million to animate.
We got to invent sheet physics.
Yeah, it really is. All right, so... That's everything we watched, right? You didn't watch anything new besides those.
No, not so far. But I feel like we've covered a pretty decent spread of the fall lineup.
Yes, and just before we move on, I do want to shout out a couple of things that we did miss when we were talking about stuff coming up.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you put on here like obviously the Fulikuli Grunge and Shoegaze are now
Speaking
out.
of 3D animated stuff.
Yeah. Those are going on. I don't know. I'm definitely not going to watch Grunge. I might watch an episode of Shoegaze. We'll see how
Grunge
that breaks
is out.
down.
Grunge is that's finished. That's out. Shoegaze is the next one coming up.
Right. We might check out that.
I feel like I will probably check out Grunge just to see what it's got going on, because the only thing I do know about Shoegaze is that apparently, what's her face, Haruko, isn't in it.
That's interesting. I like that.
Yeah, well, that's kind of what I was hoping they were going to do with these reboots all along, but like I said, it seems the lesson they took from Fulikuli is that people really like Haruko, who is an objectively bad person.
bad guy. One that slipped through the cracks here, which is kind of strange for me because Good Night World, you may remember I talked a lot about this manga. This is the one about the family who hate each other, but unbeknownst to them, are part of the same guild in the MMO they all play together.
You love to see it. You love to see a family come together over something they love.
Yeah, over grinding dungeons.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, somehow
what if this was about RuneScape? Like the family all just plays RuneScape together.
The game kind of is like that. There's not a lot to it. It's like there's a lot of PvP apparently in the game they're playing, So somehow that slipped by me, but that actually starts tomorrow. That is October 12th. Yes, we are recording on October 11th. You got us.
You boomed us.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes. I'm interested because I honestly didn't think the manga was like popular at all, but who knows? Weird things happen. Now, a big one I did know about, which I do feel a little shame that we didn't mention, was Naoki's Pluto adaptation is going on to Netflix on the 26th.
Oh,
And that looks incredible. It just looks fantastic.
I saw the trailer for that. That does look like something to keep an eye on. Real beautiful stuff.
Yes. Now, Naoki is one of my favorites, and I was a little afraid because, Netflix, obviously, not a great reputation right now. But I'm definitely 100% checking that out.
Remember when the name Netflix really stood for something?
Like
Do you remember those days?
the Arrested Development sequels? That's what you're talking about?
Yeah.
In that vein, Scott Pilgrim adaptation. Whoa! That's November 17th.
We did talk about that before, so that's when that's coming out, November 17th.
Yeah,
We've confirmed.
That's pretty close. That's November 17th. Yes. Real mixed feelings, I gotta say.
I'm gonna be honest, like, I've always liked Brandon Lee O'Malley's style. I do like the way Scott Pilgrim, the art looks. What I'm questioning is bringing back the Edgar Wright movie cast to do the voices, because I don't think any actor that appeared in that movie has like a voice that I want to listen to divorced from their actual face for any amount of time, right?
Sure.
Obviously Michael Cera, I don't think that he fits the character at all. I thought he was a weird cast to begin with, but who am I to question Edgar Wright?
He was a weird cast.
Yeah.
I mean, I think he was hot at the moment. He had some buzz at the moment,
Yeah. He was coming off of kind of a hot streak. Where he obviously did Superbad and then did a bunch of kind of like weird
Juno. Arrested Development.
Comedies.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can kind of see why he would be in Edgar Wright's mind, the Rightgeist, if you will.
I think I just have to make this clear in case I haven't said it before. I know, God, we constantly repeat ourselves, don't we? But voice actors and film and television actors are not interchangeable skill sets.
At all.
No, they are not. There's a reason Troy Baker has to do everything in this fucking industry. You know what I mean?
Okay, what I find weird is that, and I'm just going to say that Troy Baker is someone I would describe as traditionally attractive. He's not a bad-looking dude. It's interesting that he went so all in on being like a voice actor persona. He's like a prestige voice actor, and I think he's kind of one of the guys that's pioneering that term. I don't want to say pioneering, that sounds pretentious, but
oh, God forbid you sound pretentious.
I've never been accused of it in my life, sir.
Mm-hmm.
But he's like becoming a name that characters get billed on, like, oh, that guy's voiced by Troy Baker.
Yeah.
And you see it popping up. I feel like you're going to see it popping up a lot more. Rest in peace. Kevin Conroy just barely caught like the tail end of the benefit of that trend before he died. He was the voice of the Batman in the animated series from the 90s and from the Arkham games.
Well, yeah, and of course, on the same tip, like Mark Hamill is one of the very few people who actually do step across the line and excel at both, right?
Yeah, exactly.
His Joker, obviously one of the most legendary Jokers.
Iconic.
Yeah, absolutely iconic. But like for the most part, stage, screen, television actor is not just somebody you can slot in to a voice acting gig. I think people make that mistake a lot. Again,
unless your name is Hank Azaria.
Well, the man is great. I mean, he's another legend.
Yeah.
He's one of the funniest parts in Heat.
We all love Heat, don't we?
Yeah. His wife has a great big ass.
All right, let's take a break.
Okay. All right. The days of youth, the potential of the young, of the first episode of a show just struggling to be born. That's truly beautiful. But what of the adolescent show? A show, let's say, on its 12th or maybe even 34th episode. That potential is either realized or squandered, isn't it? Isn't it, Nate?
I don't want to talk about squander potential.
I don't want to think about that. The last season is pretty much done with. Obviously, we've got another episode of Jujustu Kaisen to go.
I am just on the edge of my fucking seat about that one.
Yeah, we've got a couple more things. Surprisingly, like Deadmount Deathplay has just picked up again, so like, obviously that's on a roll. But we want to talk about a little bit, break down what we watched and what we dropped from the last season. Because we picked up a fair amount of shows. I mean, I think we watched at least 10 or 11, maybe 12 shows from last season.
Between the two of us, we got a good spread, I think.
Yeah. I think we covered the big ones at the very least.
Yeah.
But we did not. We did not make it very far in all of them. I will admit.
I feel no shame. I don't think many of these deserve my full attention anyway.
No. I am very much of the opinion if something is bumming you out, drop that shit. You know. You do not owe your time to anything.
Yeah, well, okay. Starting there, I think is interesting because I wanted to talk about. I can't even remember the full title of the show. The Masterful house cat is depressed again. Was that it?
Yeah, I think so.
So. So I watched a couple episodes of this. I think you watched maybe 3. I don't know how many. How far did you get?
I think I watched like 5 or 6.
Oh, you got way farther than I did.
Yeah, and I think I liked it way less than you.
Yeah, I was rather charmed by it. You know, I had planned to go back to this one because the premise is this lady. She's your standard harried, overworked office lady. She just is a lady in the city trying to get by, right?
Yeah, a working girl.
Yeah.
No, wait, no, not that.
Wait, that's not what that means.
No, not that, not that one. Professional woman.
Yeah.
She's professionally a woman.
I mean, that is a job in Japan. Look it up. So, and she adopts a stray cat. And for some reason, it grows up to be human-sized and sentient, and also kind of a bitch to her.
Yeah, for some reason it must have come into contact with the ooze.
Yeah. Again, you got Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles on the brain.
Yeah. Well, it becomes bipedal and like fully sapient. So I mean, we can only draw one conclusion from that, and that's the ooze.
Yeah, it is a product of mutagenic material that is leaked out, possibly the same kind that created the Ninja Turtles.
Master Splinter, of course.
Possibly the same kind that created Daredevil. Yeah, it's wild. If you look into the current running Ninja Turtles like comic series that's getting very popular from the buzz I'm seeing online, it's just a furry comic at this point.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, Bebop and Rocksteady are what, like 25, 30 years old now?
Yeah, but, they were ugly.
oh, shit. Wow. Damn, that's harsh.
I'm just saying that, like, they were very clearly monstrous in their mutations.
Man, this is so human-centric here. It's really fucked up of you, man. You know, in the new movie, there is a whole gang of them.
A whole gang of mutants?
Yeah, the main guy is a fly. He's an anthropomorphic fly, but he has assembled an entire gang of other oozed creatures. There's like 9 or 10 of them.
I mean, I like that. I like making him a fly. Do they give him any Jeff Goldblum affectations?
No, he is very clearly, like, black-coated. Again.
Oh.
Not to go back to the One Piece thing, but the main evil villain of the new Ninja Turtles movie is a black-coated fly. Anyway,
Seth Rogen.
Why don't you tell me why you stopped watching Masterful Cat, and then I'll tell you why I stopped watching Masterful Cat.
You know, honestly, I just... It's hard for me to get into these slice-of-life kind of low-stakes stories. It's not that I didn't like it. It's just, it is a very chill, or at least it's trying to be, kind of very chill, normal core kind of vibe to it, you know? The premise is she has this giant house cat that basically kind of acts as a live-in kind of caretaker / wise elderly advice giver.
Yeah.
Really, it just comes off, like I think you're about to say, is incredibly patronizing and down-putting to her.
Yeah. Well, it's very strange because the cat is, it's Jeeves.
Okay. You know, you say that now, and it clicks for me. I did not put that together, but yeah, the cat is Jeeves. It's a pithy, effeminate caretaker dude.
Yeah, because Wooster is a man-child.
Yes,
it's made very clear in the Jeeves and Wooster books.
Well, he's more than a man-child. He's dumb. He's a dumb man.
He's a dumb guy, and he's basically unable to live on his own. He needs a caretaker, which is Jeeves.
He just keeps getting into too many capers.
Yes, it's constant capers with that guy. Like, give it a rest, man. Now, the difference being our office lady is not a rich British gentleman who spends most of his days at the club. She has to work like 9-10 hour days, 6 days a week.
Yeah, no, her job sucks. She doesn't have any time. She's always, you know, in a rush. She's overworked, and then she has to go home to this cat fucking giving her side eye all the time.
Yeah, because her only hobby is getting drunk.
I mean,
glass houses.
Yeah.
Now, the reason I dropped this, and I think this is what I was very emphatic about this when we talked about it the first time, is this show is extraordinarily misogynistic. I mean,
so like British people.
Yeah, I don't know what the hell was going on, but I mean, if you really sit down and like pay attention to what is happening on the show, this show thinks women are dumb babies. This show says women belong in the kitchen every single episode. I mean, it was extraordinary to me. I could not believe what I was seeing. I think the reason I watched so many episodes is because I kept doubting myself. I was like, this show couldn't... I think I'm bringing too much of my own biases into this. I don't think it can't possibly be as misogynistic as I think it is. But no, every episode compounded the misogyny. I mean, this show is supposedly about, you know, a professional woman making her way through the world, but it fucking hates ladies, dog. Like, this shit fucking hates them. It's mind-boggling. Yeah, I hated Masterful Cat.
I mean, to be totally honest, I feel like, I mean, you told me about that basically as soon as you were watching these episodes.
Yeah.
That played a big part in me not really having a big interest in going back. I don't want to see that. As we've talked about, you know, many times, Remy, you are in fact the #1 feminist ally in the world.
Yes, I'm a big ally. I'm a male feminist. I'm a male feminist ally. I'm big in the world. There, I'm good. I'm a good feminist I'm a good feminist ally.
Listen, as a man, let me tell you people that he's one of the good ones.
As a man, I think I know a thing or two about misogyny. You know what I mean?
All right, sit down.
All right, okay. What about Girl I Like Forgot Her Glasses? You definitely watched one episode of this. I never
did.
did.
I actually got I think 6 episodes into this one. And after a while, it just became too much. How she just kept forgetting her glasses.
Why does this chick keep forgetting her glasses? Like, honestly.
Is she dumb?
Is it a... We're getting right back into it. Yeah. We're getting right back into it. Look, put him on a chain. Problem solved.
What really did it for me is that the kid who likes the girl who keeps forgetting her glasses, the titular kid,
the titular kid, not the girl I like, the I. The I in the title, yes.
Yeah, the I in the title. Again, and I'll get into it, but it's really not about the girl that he likes and how she keeps forgetting her glasses.
No, it's about the Boku.
Yes,
right?
He's a little
right?
He's a little nervous baby boy, and he is slowly. Basically, he uses her horrible, debilitating vision problems because she cannot function without her glasses. Like, she is legally blind.
Right.
If she went to a doctor, like, they would say you cannot exist in society without wearing these things.
She's a Hans Mole man.
Yes, exactly. And he basically uses this weird, artificial barrier of her not being able to see anything or anyone as like his mask or his fake competence. He uses it as a basis for being able to talk to her,
right? As
like a person. He's like, well, she can't see me, so obviously I don't have to talk to her like I would a girl,
right? He uses it to kind of engineer a series of meet cutes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, and that's what really did it for him, because it gets to the point where he is actually actively hoping for and maybe eventually like planning to engineer situations where she forgets her incredibly necessary glasses. Again, it's a cruel thing to make this girl go without these glasses. It's a form of abuse.
What if I told you that, like, as the show goes along, it leans further and further into that angle, and it becomes, like, truly, like, menacing, and he becomes the main villain?
Oh my god, that would be so amazing!
What a great twist that would be.
Oh, that's so good that I know that it's not what happens.
I know. It could never be that good. I would love it, though. I would really love that.
Yeah, I mean, basically, I dropped this because I got fed up with him being a weird little baby boy that is happy that this person has a disability because it makes him slightly better at talking to girls.
The girl I like forgot her wheelchair.
That is a good way to point out how fucked up the situation is.
It's really funny. That's really funny. Yeah, I didn't really have a lot of interest. I think because it was just too similar to some of my other like dumb rom-coms that I had picked up at the time.
Yeah, some of the other fucking snuff film shit that you read.
Hey, don't blow up my spot, man. Okay, do we even need to say why we didn't watch Rurouni Kenshin?
Because of the criminal charges, right?
I think probably because of the thing that the things that he is legally responsible for.
Well, I mean, he was only legally responsible for paying $2,000. Anyway.
Yeah. Anyway, this show also didn't look very good.
All right, tell me a little bit about, now we're moving into stuff that I didn't watch. This is all stuff you dropped.
Yeah.
Tell me about Gene of AI.
Gene of AI is not something I stopped watching because it was bad. It's something I
Is
kind
this something
of
you
just...
stopped watching because it's good?
It was too good. It was really off-putting how good it was. I think it got lost in the shuffle a little bit because it is more episodic in the traditional sense, right? In that each episode functions as its own little story. And so there's not a lot of, I don't know, urgency, I suppose. And I think Netflix has maybe like rewired a lot of our brains into the format where you like everything has to end in like a rushed cliffhanger, you know? And I might be guilty of that as well. But I do like Gene of AI. I think it is a really clever, kind of humanist and interesting story. I think it's really well done. But it, you know, like I said at the top, there's so many shows right now. It's hard to keep up on everything. So Gene of AI,
We can't even keep up with the good ones, folks.
I know it's crazy. So I like Gene of AI. I will get back to Gene of AI.
Okay. Now, that's the one you described to me as Blackjack, but for androids.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Which
is a good premise. I like that.
It's a good premise. It's a back alley doctor, but he treats robots. And the society is built on the idea that, like, androids and a lesser version of them, like full-on robots, coexist with regular humans. And androids obviously can't go to a meat doctor. They have to go to a computer doctor. And a lot of the cases are things that challenge our conception of humanity, because it's often it's the edge cases that aren't necessarily like super legal. Like in this world, you are not allowed to make backup copies of people's personalities, right? Because,
I mean, I think that I agree with that.
Yeah, it's something to think about, but it's also like there's one particular case that I think about a lot because I think it's a really great episode. But it's a man comes to our doctor because his wife has basically a BIOS failure that is slowly overwriting her personality.
His robot wife?
Yeah. Well, she's an android, so she is like a fair amount of human, like a real person.
Okay.
She's not a full robot. But she is an artificial person, really. She has a lot of robotic parts. And he wants to illegally copy her data while it's still intact so that he can restore her later on. And this becomes very complicated because, like, the ethics behind that are very strange, because as soon as he copies her personality, everything after that happens to her, after that copy, right? Who is that person?
Well, that's did you play Soma?
I did play Soma, and I liked Soma.
That's basically the same question posed there, right?
Exactly. Yeah. But it's very grimdark in Soma.
Yeah. Kind of a downer ending, that one.
Yeah, no kidding. This has a more mixed bag take on it. And, you know, our main character is definitely of the opinion that, like, this is maybe not a good thing to do. But they have a daughter, and the daughter is, you know, a young girl. She's like 8 or 9. So young enough that she's not thinking about the conundrum of this ethical issue, but she is old enough to understand, like, that her mother is disappearing from the world. And she is pretty fucked up about that. As, you know, I think most of us probably would be.
Hey, speak for yourself, mister.
I can only speak of my appearance, but if my mom died, I'd be sad.
Well, I mean, yeah, but I'm just saying, you know, speak for yourself.
Anyway, it has a very light touch and is very interested in leaving the conclusions up to the viewer, but it poses very interesting questions. So I like Gene of AI. I like it a lot.
All right. Are you going to go back to it? It sounds like you're going to go back to it.
Yeah, I definitely will.
All right. Okay. What about Sinduality?
Now, Sinduality...
We talked about this previously before as well.
Yeah, we mentioned it earlier about being last season's kind of dud mech show. It really is just the dried out... It is a dehydrated Gurren Lagann.
Sad.
Yeah, you know, I did not give it the opportunity to redeem itself after its first episode, but not a promising first episode. And... just filled to the brim with that bad CGI we were talking about.
Well, sounds like this one's out. Bullbusted.
Fully bullbusted on that one.
How far did you get in Undead Murder Farce?
I watched at least the first 3 episodes. I think first 4 episodes, maybe. So, unfortunately, I didn't get past where I was in the manga, because I did read a fair amount of the manga. Not a fair amount, like, a handful of chapters. And while it's a fairly good-looking show, and a beautiful manga, this is, again, kind of hitting our Zom 100 problem, is that the actual content is not very good. It's pretty to look at, and kind of nothing else. I found that actually the anime treats its audience like fucking idiots, even worse than the manga does. And I find that very off-putting.
For the most part, I think the audience are idiots, but you don't want to treat them that way.
Yeah, I mean, you have to kind of extend an olive branch.
Yeah, even if it may be glaringly, painfully true, still treat them like the way you treat them, like the audience you want, not like the audience they are.
Yeah, you do have to, like, sign a non-aggression pact. This one, it has no, just from the first episode, it has really no patience and no interest in, like, giving you the benefit of the doubt.
Mm-hmm.
And it is a detective story where I think the detective part is bad. I think the mysteries are not satisfying, and the detectiving is just not very good.
I mean, that doesn't sound good. In a detective story, you want the detecting to be the primary good part of it, right?
Yeah, unfortunately, a lot of anime detective stuff really tries to, like, build the hype around basically every other element besides the detectiving, which, is not very good. Some people might like that. Personally, I need a strong detectiving to make a detective story worth my time.
Is that why you're so into Ron Hanabashi? Is that it?
Yeah, keep going. Keep guessing. I want to hear all the other versions of this.
Ron McGarnagle.
Ron Bakana Lagashi. No, wait. Lagashi, that's Beastars.
Humu Nuku Nuku Apua.
It's Ron Kaminahashi.
Yeah, Kaminahashi.
Deranged detective. Yeah. Well, the cases aren't super interesting in Ron Kaminahashi, but they are better done. There's more interest in doing a strong detectiving than Undead murder farce.
So, not going back to this one.
Yeah. So those are our drops. Let's talk about the good stuff, though. How about that?
All right. Well, I mean, first off the bat, Jujustu Kaisen, baby. It's here. It's making waves. People love that shit.
Cannot stop talking about Jujutsu. Jujuku, it's just a fucking steamroller. It's the biggest thing in anime right now. Fuck Demon Slayer. Fuck My Hero Academia. Fuck One Piece. All trash. Jujuku, rise up. This is the good shit, my friends.
And it is increasingly, because the manga's popping off right now, too, it is increasingly hard for anime catch-ups like myself to keep dodging these narrative bombs that keep flying up all over the place.
Yeah, people are pretty loose with their screen grabs, I have to say.
Not a fan. Don't be that guy. I mean, generally, I think on the show we don't really care about spoilers, but don't be a negative force. That's all I'm saying. But
Yeah.
Mappa, I keep saying it over and over again. They're hitting it out of the park season after season. With Chainsaw Man, with Jujutsu, both amazing, looking beautiful. And I think that Jujutsu Kaisen is by far the better one in terms of animation and quality.
Of the recent Mappa stuff.
Yeah.
I think what's interesting about this season in particular, Jujutsu Kaisen, is first of all, it experiments with style way more than the first season.
Oh yeah. For sure.
There are even within episodes, you can really tell when people are taking big swings at different anime styles, which just is fantastic. I love that. We're going to put aside some of the labor issues that have come to light recently.
Yeah, well, how else am I going to get my product to consume without breaking a few eggs?
I must consume product. I don't care about the person behind it. Who cares?
I mean,
about that?
our show, literally, we must consume product.
We must consume product.
We must consume.
It does not matter about the human cost. Animation is obviously a meat grinder. Let's save that for another episode.
Yeah.
Perhaps.
Oh boy, we'll put that in the ideas page.
Yeah, but man, episode to episode, we are just seeing really interesting experimental stuff, and I love that. I love that. I think it's fantastic. And of course, we're getting to a very, very good and interesting part of the story itself. I don't think it's a spoiler to say that there's going to be some heavy shit, heavier than what we've seen so far, and
some shit is about to go down.
Yeah, I'm dreading it a little bit, but I'm also very excited. Jujuku is just breaking through in an incredible way. It deserves everything it's getting.
Well, especially
give those people raises, you assholes.
Oh, absolutely. Give them the money. They deserve it.
Yeah.
But I was going to say, in terms of cool animation stuff they've been doing, I really love the comparison, the pairing of the two openers they've done so far, since this season has been split into the Gojo flashback, where we get kind of the fleshed out backstory of his history with Geto.
Yes, an interesting choice.
Well, that's more or less how it plays out in the manga, though, right? They do take an aside like that.
Yeah, I guess so. It's been a while since I've read that part of the manga, but I do think expanding that all the way to half this season is an interesting choice.
Yes. I mean, I feel like that whole sequence was worth giving the time to not have to truncate it down to 1 or 2 episodes. I think that for the most part is a good choice. I like that they gave it room to breathe, and we really got to feel, just how. I mean, I feel confident in saying, after watching and reading that part of the story and seeing their history, that even if it isn't explicitly stated, or even if the characters knew themselves, I definitely got some kind of unrequited romance vibes between Gojo and Geto. There was something going on there.
You are not the first person to make.
I don't think I am. I don't think that's a controversial take at all. But I see it, and it makes what I know we're building towards even more heartbreaking.
It's interesting. There's a lot of interesting stuff going on.
Yeah.
Yeah. I really hope there's not a larger gap between this part and the next part, because we did wait, what?
2 years.
2 years, 3 years, something like that.
2021 was when the first season came out, and then they did Chainsaw
Christ.
Man, and so they're probably going to finish this out in probably winter season, maybe spring of next year, and then go back to Chainsaw Man season 2.
Yeah, I really hope so. I hope we're quicker on the draw, because all this shit has a very tight pace to it.
Mm-hmm.
It would be a shame if you just left us hanging for another 2 years.
Last comment I'll make about Jujutsu is, now that I am reading the manga, and especially in the early chapters, where I've got up to now, I'm roughly at the point where the first season of the anime, or the second season of the anime that's out right now, is as adapted. I'm a little bit past that, so I know where we're going, and I was surprised at, this is one of the rare cases where Mappa's adaptation of the art just straight up looks better than the original art.
Wow.
Especially in the early in the early chapters.
Damn, he's fucking throwing it down. The gauntlet is on the ground.
I'm not trying to be disparaging. I'm just saying that the way they've animated it looks a whole. It's on a different level than the early chapters.
Oh man,
I don't know where we are again at what we're up to chapter 250 something.
We're up there. Well, okay. Well, I will say that Gege Akutami comes into their own style and truly masters their own sense of aesthetic as the manga goes on, and has now settled into a truly unique and interesting art style. I think they're fantastic. They've really got behind the eight ball there.
Love it. All right, what else we got to round out this episode?
Well, we've got Helck, which is something I read all of, the manga I devoured, and I think the anime is doing a very good job of adapting, if a little rushed. That's, what are you gonna do, right? They have a lot of ground to cover. The manga's fairly long, sort of a mid-length manga.
I mean, how many chapters in? How many chapters would you say?
Well, the manga is done, and it's been done for a while. It looks like we hit 106 chapters. That's 12 volumes.
Yeah, that's a fairly good run for a single manga.
Yeah, it's a good mid-length, not a hefty, and not a massive tome, but it's a good length. I think this is really good. I think everybody should go out and watch this. I know the goofiness might be off-putting for some people because they're expecting more of a battle manga thing from some of the clues that gets dropped early on. But I really think this is a journey worth sticking with. I really, really like it.
All right, keep it on the list.
Yeah, let's see. We got 2 more that we went through. Dark Gathering. This is a big surprise to me. I was really not expecting to stick with this one. I mean, this is one I genuinely did think I was going to drop pretty fast. But it's just weirdly compelling to me. I mean, again, maybe this is
what is the deal? Because I only see this advertised when I go to Shudder.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Is it is a horror thing. So obviously it's winning points on me there. It sits firmly in my comfort zone. I'd say this has a lot of DNA it shares with something like Meiruko-chan, in that it has the gap moe thing going on. There is a kind of our main characters are 2 college students and a little girl, right? And the little girl is sort of she's very cute, but she's obsessed with ghost hunting. And you'd think that this is sort of, based on the model of the 2 characters and the little girl, it seems kind of a little infantile. But when they bust ghosts, the ghosts are extremely fucked up and weird. And they're doing truly, truly awful things. It's gory and messed up, hence the gap moe.
For those unfamiliar with the term, that is basically a show that is being subversive to the general strappings of the moe genre.
Well, it's a general kind of aesthetic where the cutesiness comes from an example of a little girl who's very cute, but she acts like a big tough delinquent, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the gap. The gap between aesthetic and character is one example of it.
Now, would you peg that as something different than Madoka Magica?
No, I think Madoka is leaning on the same thing, though, I'm sure this isn't the most accurate way to use the term. I just thought it's a good way to break down succinctly what's going on in Dark Gathering.
And so you've been actually following this one as episodes come out.
Yeah, I've literally been watching episode to episode. There's just enough really weird, fucked up shit to just keep me totally interested and engaged. And I keep going man, I hope they get more and more fucked up. And for the most part, they have. It gets really grim. This last episode has been nothing but disembowelings, which is just crazy. I like it.
I mean, that's good to hear, because I feel like we've mentioned that horror as a genre in anime is probably one of the harder stuff to find good shows in, right?
Yeah, I think it's weird because animation itself lends itself fairly well to horror usually. I mean, imagine you're removed from so many restrictions that you have in a live action. But anime, for whatever reason, doesn't usually lean too far into the horror stuff. We just listed a lot of stuff from this season and last season, and how many of those are actually horror?
I mean, I'd have to dive into it a bit, but I would say maybe 1, maybe 2 out of the entire lot.
Barely any. And this show itself is not even full horror. Like I said, it is playing it's being subversive and playful with the way that it combines those two elements, just like Meruko-chan does.
Yeah.
But I think it's doing it very successfully.
I mean, if I had to take a guess, I would say that even with the cost-cutting techniques that we've railed against on this show, for the most part, making an entire season of an anime is going to be more expensive than making a low-budget horror movie. And so at that point, the people who are making the money decisions want you to produce something that is going to fit into what traditionally sells with anime, which is obviously shonen stuff, cute anime stuff, moe. I feel like financially, the big draw of horror in movies has always been that you can make a pretty bad movie at a pretty low budget, and it's going to return, financially at the box office just by the sheer number of people who go to see horror movies, as a genre, not like specific titles.
Yeah, I hate to say it about people basically like us, but they basically assume we're fucking idiots. They assume horror fans are fucking idiots who will eat whatever.
They're not always wrong, but it's not nice to assume.
Yeah, and of course they're all fucking. I mean, dollar signs pouring out of these guys' eyeballs because something like Paranormal Activity made $4 billion, and the budget was like what, $1,000, $2,000.
It was more. It was.
Basically,
I think the budget was $63,000.
Yeah, something insane.
And most of that was camera equipment costs.
Yeah, that really is horror in a nutshell there.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm that's why one of the reasons I'm so excited for this Uzumaki adaptation, because it really looks like a big budget, serious attempt at obviously a great horror story,
I mean, that's awesome. I love that that's happening. And I like that you brought up Junji Ito, because I feel, at least in horror anime, his name is like one of the only ways to get a horror anime made is by having Junji Ito's name attached to it.
Yeah, to make straight horror.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got like some psychological horror thriller stuff with Paranoia Agent back in the day.
Sure.
But even that was really much more leaning on the psychological aspect rather than being like straight up a monster or ghost stories.
Yeah. And of course, all these death games that I love so much, a lot of them would break more towards horror, but, there's always some kind of, almost always some kind of shonen component, that like makes it in there. Because, there's got to be some kind of battling or whatever in there, because it is a game, right?
I mean, and games are supposed to be fun.
Yeah. It's so fun. Talk to Jigsaw about that one.
Oh man, I just watched
Saw 10.
No, we haven't worked up to it yet. We watched Saw 7, which, by the way, I just want to point out, this is not an anime. It has nothing to do with anime. Saw 7 starts off with a jigsaw trap that takes place in a public setting, and it is not followed up on one bit in the actual narrative of the movie. They just use it as an intro to show that they are doing 3D this time.
Hell yeah. Well, I mean, I don't want to get too deep into the Saw lore, but we of course know that...
No, fuck it. This is a Saw cast now.
I could do like 100 episodes on Saw. But we do know that, Jigsaw's apprentices have infiltrated the police. So, just saying.
I'm just saying, I wish we could have gotten a little more context for it. That's all I'm saying.
Okay. All right, final show. This is the final show of summer 2023. Deadmount Deathplay. This is a show that I'm not even sure I would have given a chance if I wasn't already reading the manga. It is a reverse isekai, right?
So we have what... that term can mean a lot of things, but is this a fantasy character that has been brought into our world?
You nailed it.
Okay, all right.
Absolutely. Now, this combines something I really like with something I don't like. Because on one hand, we have our main character is a necromancer lord. He is the corpse god, which I love. Love necromancers. Big ups to all necromancers. I love you guys.
Doing great work out there.
You're doing great work. I really appreciate it. And of course,
wait, hold on.
the
Did you
other
say
hand,
necromancers or necrophiles?
I don't want to talk about Saw anymore. And of course, on the other hand, there is the isekai component, which I'm obviously not so on.
which we hate.
Yeah, which we loathe and despise. But Deadmount Deathplay, for the most part, I think obviously because of the reverse elements, I give it a lot more leeway. I think Necromancer in a modern setting is way more interesting than the reverse. For sure. For sure.
Now, does he, say, use his necromancer powers to run a small business in a hustle and bustle modern Tokyo?
He does. Absolutely,
fuck
he does.
yes, I love that.
Yeah. What he does is he bilks people out of their money by being a fake fortune teller, which is very funny to me.
Can't he just really tell fortunes, though?
Yeah, he just, like, talks to people's ghosts that are hanging around. He's like, hey, what's up with this guy? And the ghosts are like, oh, that guy? That's my husband. He's really sad about how I died. And then the guy's like, you're sad about how your wife died. And the guy's like, whoa, what? How'd you know?
I just want to point out the layers of absurdity in this premise. Hey, these idiots think I'm a fortune teller, but really I can just talk to ghosts.
Yeah, right? He didn't want to be like a straight medium because like that's a little bit too much heat. You know what I mean? So he leans into the fortune teller thing. What's funny is he does hot and cold reads because he also has a buddy who is looking people up on the internet in real time and feeding him information.
So he's kind of like a Reagan type from Mob.
Yeah, it is. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, what if Reagan, but he also could see ghosts?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's funny.
Yeah. I think there are good things and bad
This
things in this show.
technically counts as humor.
Yes. This show dips in and out of some good and bad things. I think sometimes you have good animation, there's some really interesting visuals, and occasionally they have great fight scenes. Occasionally the fight scenes look like garbage, and the animation is just not good. Like, drop frames, like bad stuff. I think sometimes the story is really intriguing and interesting. It plays with some really great ideas. And then sometimes it just drops everything that's interesting to pursue mindless melodrama. And I'm not against melodrama, but, you know, just mystery and...
You're for mindful melodrama.
Mindful melodrama, yes. Sometimes it just throws out things for the sake of having something to talk about, you know? Which I do not like. Now, this is by the guy who did Durara. Yeah, which was, you know, I didn't catch at the time, but was very popular like a while back.
Do you know where that title comes from?
Do-da-da.
Yeah.
No, I have no idea.
That's the onomatopoeia for the sound that her motorcycle makes.
Oh.
That's like the rumble of her motorcycle engine.
Really?
Yeah.
Vroom, vroom, vroom.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. All right, I get it. Okay. I would say that is objectively incorrect, but hey, I am not a linguist. I've made that pretty clear.
We're also not Japanese.
Speak for yourself.
Oh.
So yeah, that's I've stuck with it because again, like I'm lukewarm on the show and the manga, but it has enough interesting elements for me to kind of like wait it out. I know you're edging up to something that could be interesting, and I'm just curious enough to see if they pull it off or not.
I mean, sounds promising.
Yeah, it is promising, and I'm still waiting for that promise to pay off. Like, very far into it, I'm still waiting.
Well, you know, the higher you climb, the farther you fall.
Deadmount Deathplay, you are a mixed bag. I really don't know what else to say about it.
A real 6 out of 10.
It's something that I will continue to watch, but I would also, like, not recommend. I don't know. It's a weird one.
Hey, I watch this, but that's because I like bad things. You shouldn't watch this.
It truly is like, it do be like that sometimes.
Great endorsement.
It do be like that.
Oh my
Wow.
God, is that it? Are we done? Is that the anime?
we fucking covered it. I didn't even talk about any of the manga I read. That list is getting longer and longer. But that's a bunch of anime. Again, it's funny that we hit that dry spot for a little while, and now we are just dumping anime on you.
It's true.
Best friend and listener, we have just supplied you with anime talk for days.
I mean, I think that should just speak to the fact that maybe for how much shit we're giving it, they are at least presenting some ideas in the last couple seasons, right? Last year or so that are fucking intriguing and make me actually want to watch them, even if it's only an episode.
It is kind of crazy, like how many of the things we just talked about are just straight adaptations of manga. I would really like. Let me send this message directly to all the money men in Japan and elsewhere that are creating these shows. I would really appreciate some, I hate to call it this, but new IP.
Original anime.
Original animation, not based on a manga or any other property. I would really appreciate that. I'm way more invested and interested in something when it's not based on anything. I would love to count up, by the end of the year, count up how many things there are that aren't based on a manga or a video game or whatever.
Okay, well, you say that, but you still haven't watched an episode of Paradox Live.
I'm working up the courage to get there.
Hey, you're the one asking for original content. Here it is, baby.
Yeah. Oh boy. Yeah. Hey, you know what? Send me one of the raps, and I'll judge it on that.
Oh, okay. That'll be fun.
I'll keep an open mind until that moment.
All right.
I'm exhausted.
Yeah.
Wow.
We have wrung the anime out of our pores.
Jesus Christ. So much anime. Oh, okay. Next week we have got to talk about something less timely. We have been way too on the ball.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to talk about something a little more abstract next week. Maybe come up with some kind of topic, perhaps?
Oh, I like that. Some kind of thing that we can discuss.
Yeah. Maybe a discussion point. Maybe something like a big picture concept. What do you think?
I love it.
That?
I love that idea. Because
right,
quite honestly, I'm sick of watching anime.
God, I hate anime so much. Oh my god. This is just pure torture. I cannot believe how much of my life I'm devoting to content.
This is for you, dear listener.
It's so depressing.
Because we love you and we care about you.
Yeah, because we're your best friends. I mean...
We're your best anime friends.
We're your best anime friends. And we're just giving you so much of our own life force.
I'm bleeding right now. I'm bleeding for you into this recording.
Yeah, I honestly, we need to go now because I need to jump into my recovery chamber. I'm so weak.
Your Darth Vader fucking techno egg healing chamber.
Yeah, exactly. I need to restructure my cellular degeneration at this point.
All right.
I'm so tired.
That's it. I'm going. I'm leaving.
All right,
that's
it. Enough. That's enough for Anime Death Spiral for this week. Thank you to your friends and listeners for sticking around. Eventually, we're going to have some TikToks that I would really like. I'm saying it now to force Nate into finishing them.
Okay.
I will leave this in the episode to force Nate into doing it. This is pure guilt on my part. I am weaponizing my guilt. Nate will put out these TikToks. If he does, I would love for you to go and watch them and maybe share them if you can. Unless that makes you look like a loser, in which case I understand. Ooh, boy. Well, until next time, this is Anime Death Spiral.
Bye. Your wife's got a great big ass. Hooah!